Hello, hello. This is Dallas Cohen, the Rebound Coach, and you are watching or listening to an episode of the Rebound Coach Live. And first of all, I don't get to say this often, but if you watch these on the regular, if you watch these on a regular basis on the replay, number one, please put in the chat that you are here on the replay. I would love to say hello in the comments, and also share this. Share this with someone who would get a lot out of this. So today we're talking about how to handle change like a boss. Y'all, I don't know about you, but sometimes I can put a lot of effort into a change in a certain area of my life. But what happens when there's like change happening in more than one area? Like it can be really disconcerting. It can be really discombobulating. And suddenly you have to put a lot of energy into a lot of different directions. And y'all, that's not easy. So today we're going to talk all about how to handle change like a boss. And if it's your first time here, I am so glad you are sharing virtual space with me. Thank you for coming to hang out today. Again, my name is Dallas Cohen, the Rebound Coach. And you're like, what's a rebound coach? Like, I've never even heard of that. So I'm a life coach. A life coaches help people get unstuck. Personally, I help people who I serve high achieving women of faith who've been through betrayal, trauma, or abuse, and who would like to reclaim territory in their relationship with themselves. And you might be like, yeah, that's a whole mouthful. Yes. And it all started with my own story. Y'all, I was married 10 years to this guy who wanted me dead. And that didn't make a whole lot of sense for somebody like me. I was raised with two godly parents. They loved God. They loved each other. They were married for a lifetime, right? Those are all good statistics that mean I'm not supposed to choose an abuser. However, I was molested from the time I was 8 to the time I was 16. And that really affects how you see yourself, because those are identity forming years, how I related to God in a household of faith, and how I related to men. Fast forward when I met the man that I married and later divorced, there were definitely red flags. There were definitely reasons not to be together, but there were reasons too. And number one, I believed, as a praying woman, I believed God's answer was yes. And because of that, I believe that whatever came, whatever trouble came, I knew this wasn't going to be easy, but whatever happened, I believed we'd overcome it. We'd outlive it. God would swoop in and save the day and change things. And he did, just not in the way I was expecting. Trouble came right away and never quite left. We got into a cycle of what I call coping and crisis. So it's where you're kind of barely making it. You never get to good, you never even get to okay. You're just kind of barely making it every day. And then once you figure that dance pretty well, you're walking on eggshells, you're being careful not to make him mad, and the rules keep changing, but you're following the best you can. And then there's some sort of crisis that just kind of topples everything over, and you're putting pieces back together again and starting over. And we did that cycle for the better part of 9 years, almost 10 years. And things kind of came to a head end of 2019, beginning of 2020. We were in one of those crises again. He had left for another woman. He was actually a serial adulterer, but this time he actually left for another woman. And I found out him and that woman had been plotting my murder for months by the time I found out about it. And it's kind of weird to say out loud. And even though I've said it out loud often, it still causes me to pause, because this is not a movie plot. That was my life. It was my life. And I couldn't believe that that's where I was. and how did this come to be? How did we get here? And it's a time where the record scratches come on, and like you pause and everybody stops for a minute and just figure out what in the world. And you're threatened as a wife, a mom, a woman, a human being, a child of God, and also as a coach. I had been coaching in marriage and relationship for about 5 or 6 years by then, at that time. And if you can imagine, I had an entire platform, an entire message all around staying married and being in covenant and how to fight for covenant, because that was the right thing to do. And that was the only right thing to do, no matter what was going on. So if you can imagine building your identity on a particular idea, and that being the idea that's just kind of crumbling at your feet, and it's like like a pregnancy, eventually it's going to show. And I had some important decisions to make. And the way that I share the story is I could allow the identity that my ex-husband had planned for me, and quite frankly, the one I had agreed to by omission and commission and omission, if I'm saying that right. But I had agreed to that identity just by not putting up a fight, by not saying anything against it, by, letting the abuse continue. I had agreed to who he said I was. And I could let that tell me who I got to be for the rest of my days, and all the rules he had for me, to tell me how I was allowed to express my faith, the jobs I was allowed to have, how I could raise my children, all the things, how many days I had left on the planet. He had a death day picked out for me. Or I could choose life. So by the grace of God and a series of divine events, I'm still here, and we get to spend this time together. And I wrote a book out of all of that trauma. The name of the book is I Choose Life: Rewrite Your Love Story and Change Your Legacy. And when you heard my story, if you know anyone who has gone through something like that, is going through something like that, if there is emotional abuse, spiritual abuse, financial abuse, verbal abuse happening in a household with someone you care about, this book is for them. If your story resonates with mine, this book is for you. It's not just my story. It is my story. It's not just my story. It is a handbook and a life map to those who need it most. So you can find this book at thereboundcoach.com/book. That is thereboundcoach.com/book. You can buy one of these physical books right here. I will sign it for you and write you a love note. Or you can get one from Amazon and they won't write you a love note. But you could also get an e-copy from Amazon. But all of that information is at thereboundcoach.com/book. Okay, so today we are talking about how to handle change like a boss. Okay, so here's what we know. Human beings don't like change. This is a fact of life. Human beings don't like change. So if you are a human being, experiencing change is not the most fun experience. And here's what we also know about life as a human being. Change is guaranteed. Change is guaranteed. That's what we know about life as a human being. So two facts. Human beings don't like change, and change is guaranteed. So I happen to find myself in a season of change. And sometimes one thing changes and you're putting a lot of effort into the one thing, right? You're thinking about it, you're planning it out, you're adjusting your emotions, you're adjusting your expectations as things fluctuate and it's different than it used to be. But y'all, what happens when there's 2 areas, 3 areas, 4 areas that are all changing at the same time? Like, that can be pretty difficult to handle, right? So I wanted to share some strategies with you on handling change, okay? In confidence, handling change without losing your mind, okay? Well, how do I know if change is affecting me, okay, negatively? How do I know? So these aren't all the ways to know, but here's a couple. Number one, if you feel pulled in several directions, like you're wanting to, I'm going to get this thing done, I'm going to do this over here, and then, oh no, what about that? Oh no, what about that? Oh no, what about that? That's something very common in our culture. But it's also one of the signs of change affecting us. Another kind of signal for you is defense mechanisms. So what do you mean by that? No one's attacking me. Why do I need to defend myself? So when we are faced with something emotionally difficult, mentally difficult, right? It may not even be physically difficult, but it might be, right? When we're faced with those kinds of tasks, our defenses rise. Now, everybody's got different defenses, but some common ones are procrastination. I'm just going to put that off until tomorrow. And then tomorrow, I'm going to put it off until tomorrow, right? Um, and even sometimes it's the steps that get us to our goals. So, hey, I'd like to make X amount of dollars. I'd like to lose X amount of weight. I'd like to have this relationship or not have that relationship, right? So there's goals that we have in our minds and hearts. And then here's the task that gets me to there, right? But I don't want to do that task. I'm going to put it off. I'm going to put it off. I'm going to put it off. So there's this challenge between here's where I want to be, here's what it takes, and I have a resistance. Because why? Right? Because I don't like change. Because I'm not quite sure what this is going to feel like, look like, be like, and if it's worth the effort it's going to take to get there. Right? So here's some strategies, okay? Because the change in many cases, well, number one, change is necessary and a part of this existence here as a human being. So there's no getting out of it. There's no getting out of it. Sometimes change is thrust upon us, and sometimes change is the requirement to get to where we want to go. So what do? Okay, I'm trying to read my notes here. Number one, trust the process. That's not really number one, but it's the first one I'll talk about, trusting the process. There is a process. It is not what you're used to. It is not the most comfortable, but it is required. So if you find yourself in a transformational season, if you find yourself in a stretching place, that's okay. It's okay. Just trust the process. Let's just take, what's that mean? What's that mean, right? Does that mean I just believe anything anybody says? No, it means I'm going to take one step at a time, take one step and then the next, and then the next, and then the next, and not be concerned of the 18th step when you're really on step 4. You know, you're just going to focus on what's right here for me to do, and then what's right next to me for me to do, right? Okay? Trust the process. Number 2, in all you're getting, get understanding. Just as you are trusting, that doesn't mean blind faith. It means I know what this step is. I'm going to take this step, right? So in all you're getting, get understanding. It is important to, okay, my phone is talking to me. It is important to understand what's happening. Understand that, the discomfort is part of the process. Discomfort doesn't mean, oh, I'm going to stop now because I'm not comfortable. Discomfort in this means we're on our way somewhere. It's icky, it's weird, it's different. I'm not sure. That's okay. I'm on my way somewhere. Okay. Here's the big thing. So we talked about resistance. Here's where you want to be. Here's where you are. Here's the resistance. I don't want to do those steps. This is hard. I don't understand. I'll do it tomorrow. Okay. What you're pushing against the old version of you. And in the case of many people that I get to coach or walk alongside, you're warring against the you that has been abused, the you that has accepted abuse, the you that has accepted mistreatment, the you that has not loved herself well. That's the you you're fighting against. And it's a war. It's a war. This is why, survivors are so strong. Abuse survivors are so strong, just to keep going every day, to do something positive with themselves and for themselves and for their lives, and be good mothers to their children. It's a war. It's a war. But it's a war worth winning. It's a war worth fighting. It's a war worth winning. Okay? You're pushing against the old you. And understand, victory doesn't have to happen in one big fell swoop. It normally doesn't anyway. It normally happens little inch by little inch by little inch, and it's okay to travel that way. It's okay to progress that way. As a matter of fact, it's recommended, because that's how you win. That's how things change on the outside. So very often we think that the change we're after, it's going to come from outside, and it's going to be this circumstantial change. And I myself am going to be the same, experiencing a new circumstance. Like, that's when people play the lottery, that's what they're thinking about. Like, this big windfall of money is going to come. I'm going to be the same person, but now I'm going to be a person who has access to all this money, and I'm going to do all these different things, and I myself will be the same. Becoming a wealthy person from being a not wealthy person is way more up here than it is any other place, right? So all the strategists, all the wealth people will tell you that it's a mentality, it's a mindset. So it is inside that must change before the outside changes. The outside, our circumstance, our relationships, our bank accounts, our careers or lack thereof, our body types, all of this is a reflection of what's going on inside. So we can do the outside things and sometimes have a modicum of change, but it all reverts back to what's going on in here and in here and in the belly, pointing down to the belly. So that's where change starts. That's where external change starts internally, right? So inch by inch progress happens, okay? And last but not least, see who you would be on the other side of change. So we're talking about handling change like a boss, right? So what's that like a boss? Like, what's that bring to your mind? Confidence, right? Confidence. So there's a scripture about a wise woman looking at the future and laughing, laughs and hopes and excitement for the future, not in fear and trepidation for the future. What's the difference? Confidence, a surety, right? So how do I get there? Bosses, in the case of career bosses, you're thinking about company bosses, organizational bosses, they have a plan. They have a plan for where it is they're going. Does it mean that it always goes according to plan? Nope. No. Does it mean there will be no mistakes on the way because there's a plan? No, absolutely not. But it does mean that there is a plan. We know we're going from here to here, and this is the path we're choosing to take, right? There might be variation. We got to call an audible halfway through. Hey, we're going to do this instead of that, but this is the destination. I have planned to arrive there. Here we are on the way. What can cause that fear and trepidation and that I'm not sure is when we don't know exactly where we're going. We're not sure exactly where we're going. And I won't say how to get there, because the how often appears as we take the steps. So most folks don't know exactly how it's going to work out. They might have a plan, they have an idea. I've got a sketch of kind of how I want to go about this, but it's never the same as when they're on the path and stuff comes up and they got to make changes, right? So when we don't know, we don't have a mental picture of what that end goal looks like, feels like, tastes like, smells like. What's the kind of person I need to be in that situation? Who do I need to become in that situation? So when we don't spend that mental energy there, but instead we spend it in, I'm not sure what to do. I am scared. I am tired. I'm going to eat. I'm going to sleep. I'm going to watch. And when I say watch, I mean like watch Netflix or watch YouTube or watch TikTok, right? The things that we're doing that are distracting us from positive change, distracting us from movement, distracting us from taking the mental energy we have and putting it into the future that we want and living real life. And I say real life because we spend a lot of time on screens watching other people live life, right? Whether that's real people or actors or some kind of mix thereof, where we spend a lot of time consuming the activity of other people instead of creating activity for ourselves. And I'm right with you. It's not like me too. Me first. That's how this got in here. So what do you do? So looking back at this, if you're taking notes, number one, trusting the process of change. Know that change is just part of it and trusting that process. Number two, in all you're getting, get understanding. Okay, don't go blindly ahead. Know that, get yourself a plan, okay, that in which you can be confident. Number three, push against the old you, the version of you that's really comfortable in the dysfunction or really comfortable in the maintaining the status quo, really comfortable in poverty, really comfortable in abuse, really comfortable in whatever. Okay, that person that's comfortable. Okay, and progress is on the other side of that comfort zone, and it's hard, but it's worth it. Okay, inch number 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 4, progress happens inch by inch. Okay, inch by inch. Be faithful with the little things. Be faithful with your habits every day. Be faithful with what you listen to and what you affirm. Be faithful. And as we consume media, it's a slippery slope. And you can get into some things that just don't belong in your spirit. And it's not about, being a prude or anything, but what we focus on, we make room for, right? What you feed will flourish, what you neglect will die. So feed things that are moving you toward where you want to go. And last but not least, see who you will be and who you need to become on the other side of the change, on the other side of this struggle that does not feel good. Where are we going? Where are we going? Christ on the cross says, it was notated in scripture of him going to the cross, despising the shame, but keeping in mind the goal that was ahead of him. Okay, this is what we win if we endure this. So he endured the cross. And whatever we've got to endure, it is not that bad. It's not as bad as the cross. So thank God for that. Okay. Now I want to give you an opportunity. We're doing something really, really special in just a few weeks. It is called the Sanctuary Experience. It is 3 days of a VIP healing journey for women who are leaders, boss ladies, or not boss ladies, and moms, servant leaders, and it's for you. So I want to share just a tiny bit. Deborah Russell did a little testimony for us when she experienced Sanctuary Experience just from the first day. I'll share that with you and be right back.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Russell. I'm here in Clearwater, Florida at the Sanctuary Experience. Today I was able to witness powerful women speak about things that should have broken them, that could have broken them. But what I learned is that everyone has the strength to excel, the strength to persevere. And so that's what we're working on today, tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. Don't miss out.
All right. So if you would like to attend with us, the next opportunity to attend Sanctuary Experience is this upcoming September 8th, 9th, and 10th. It's coming up so soon, September 8th, 9th, and 10th. We're in Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, which is very close to Clearwater Beach. And you shouldn't miss out. You really shouldn't miss out, because this whole grow and change into the person I need to become, it's not an easy thing, and you don't have to do it alone. You can do it with support. Join us. You can find information and sign up at thereboundcoach.com/sanctuary. That is thereboundcoach.com/sanctuary. I want to thank each and every one of you for spending time with me today in the virtual space. Thank you for watching the replay. Again, please leave your name. Let me know in the chat that you are watching the replay. I'd love to interact with you. Tell me what of these points you're going to take action on. What's been the hardest part of change for you? And what are you doing to choose life? Yeah, thank you again so much. I really appreciate your time. And until next time, folks, choose life.